all know we have a waste problem in the world. Put it simply, we are consuming too much and not recycling enough. As Cara mentioned, my previous business, Towglass, last year produced and shipped 35 million antennas a year. It's a large global business. But I'm ashamed to say we don't know how many of those antennas were recycled, and how could we know? Because the systems aren't there to actually report back on it. So at my new business, at Superfy, we're building a circular economy platform that will allow us to track materials from being collected right through to being ascertained where they're being used, and doing the right thing by society. So if we just continue as forecasted, in the current world economy, we will need 3 planets worth of natural resources by 2050 to sustain our consumption needs. So something has to change. Our linear economy of take, make, use, waste needs to change. So we all know, we hear the circular economy is going to be that solution. So for our focus, it's about recycling and reusing materials and products instead of discarding or incinerating them. In Europe, an average of only 12% of all materials used comes from recycled materials. So that means 88% of new products are made of virgin materials, and Europe is by far the leader in the world in recycling. So what does that say about us all? And this number has barely increased in the last decade. So why is the circular economy still in its infancy? We believe there are 2 major issues. 1, it's more expensive to recycle than it is to use virgin materials. And 2, it's much more complex to operate. So how are we going to change that? Well, we know governments are adopting new legislation and incentives to overcome those barriers. As part of the EU Green Deal, there's a goal to be climate neutral, we know, by 2050. But in specific regards around recycling, there's hard targets for that set by directives from the EU to each member country. So for plastic recycling, we need to go from an average in Europe of 30% today to 55% by 2030. For another problem area, battery recycling rates will go from 50% to 70% by 2030. So the second approach is our individual organisations need to start adopting more sustainable practices, and I think technology is going to be the key to actually enable that. Our background is the Internet of Things. Really, what does that mean? It's using software and sensors to make everything more economical to recycle, to track everything, and to operate the spokes of the circular economy, to bring all stakeholders together in one platform. So let's go back to those 2 problem product categories, plastic and batteries. Plastic is probably the biggest problem of all waste products that we have today. I've travelled around the US and Australia in the last month, and that's what comes up, same as here in Ireland. They're traditionally exported out of sight, out of mind to developing countries where they cause horrendous pollution and health effects. We all know this, and we're all complicit in that. So we need to change that, and I'm glad to see that we're making progress in Ireland next year when we bring in the National Deposit Recovery Scheme to start collecting beverage containers. Today, the other solution is to burn them in incinerators, which isn't a great use of the work and processes that went into those plastics in the first place. More enlightened jurisdictions such as Australia are now setting up soft plastic stewardship programs to collect the traditional unrecyclable, dirty mixed plastics, and they are being put into precast concrete as aggregate as a sustainable concrete solution. And our software and sensor platform is used to actually collect those plastics across Australia. The alternative is to build state-of-the-art plastic processing facilities. So that's how we can attack the plastic problem. On the battery side, we all know that batteries are exploding in number. How are we collecting them? In Ireland, we use little blue boxes. I'm not sure if that's going to be very sustainable going forward. In Australia, our software and smart bins are used in 4,000 collection points, and now to expand to 20,000 in schools as well. And they're collecting thousands of tons of batteries. The IoT system works differently than traditional systems where you make schedules based on ad hoc meeting arrangements to collect e-waste or batteries. The bins fill up, they're autonomous. The sensors connect back to the internet to tell you when the bins are full. You set AI algorithm to basically set the drivers on that day to collect. So it's the most efficient way to manage collection systems at scale. And those collection systems will now expand into every type of product. So producers have to take back their own product across the world under these extended producer responsibility schemes. So we can see a lot more specialist streamed material, which is very valuable. The problem with recycling today is when it gets contaminated with cross-contamination from other materials. So that's what we're at Superfy, developing the full circular economy solution to track the materials from cradle to cradle, with the objective of giving citizens, the producers and the government transparency on where their recycled materials ends up. So the days of casually discarding our waste are coming to an end. We must handle with care. I remember as a kid in the 80s when things were a little bit more economy driven, in the real sense of the word. We would bring back Coke bottles to Super Quinn and you'd get some money. Well, as I mentioned earlier, there's going to be a digital equivalent of that next year, where the reverse vending machines will come in to collect those beverage containers. Not alone that, in the next few years you'll see similar machines for cosmetic products, ink cartridges, and big collection sites for tyres. So there are many, many fantastic opportunities for us all in this new circular economy. So I look forward to the transition and the role Superfy will play and all of us in enabling it. Thank you for listening.